Hello folks, hope you're doing well. Just another quick video. Yeah, well first of all, yeah, I've been to the shop, so I've got some gorgeous food for tomorrow. It's spaghetti bowl mix, which is basically the mince and not the bolognese, but everything else. Got that. That was slightly reduced, so cool. Okay, that cost me £2.50 something. Cool. That works out about $4, I guess. But then I'm going to do that with mashed potato and cabbage. Ooh. I'm looking forward to that tomorrow. I'm not having it today because I did have mashed potato yesterday, so yeah. But yeah, I'm so looking forward to that. That's going to be absolutely gorgeous. Well, I was there, and again, I felt God was saying, go on, get that. You're going to enjoy it, so. Okay, fine. Yeah, and again, went down to Tesco's, and they had blackberries there for 75p. Yeah, I'm having those as well, because I like those. They're very nice. So I got a few bits and pieces that I liked today, so it was really good. Yeah, very happy with the shop. With the shopping, yes. Good stuff. Anyway, this video, okay. Now, what I will say is it's so incredibly easy to offend people in church. It is so incredibly easy. Oh my God. Well, yeah, I've had 28 years now as a son of God, or Christian, as I thought I was then, but wasn't. And yeah, guaranteed, you go into a church and you start pointing out, yeah, that what they're doing is not going to work. Oh, they do not like that in any way, shape or form. They really don't. They ask you the same question as this young lady asked me. In her first comment, she basically said, can you explain what you have done and achieved? Okay. Now, go to your pastor and ask your pastor, can he tell you what he's done and achieved? I can guarantee you, if you're speaking about from a spiritual point of view, what God has done through him, ask him what God has done through him and what's been achieved through his ministry, and I can guarantee you, if you're going, well, I've been ministering here for 25 years. Okay, just ask, how many people have you seen delivered or healed massively? Oh, well, that's probably the answer you're going to get. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can say God's done one of those things through me. A long time ago. Around about 20, 21, 22 years ago. Yeah. That's a long time ago, but I've got one tick saying that God did that through me. Christy, thank you, Father. Brilliant. Yeah, okay. And how many people have come to God through you? Ask your pastor that, and they may actually beat me on that, but then again, they run a church. I don't. So they should beat me on that one. Although, really, what you should say is, how many people have you brought to God and brought to a position where they themselves have a ministry? They would both be the same. Both be a 0 on that. Most likely. But that's the point. As soon as you say to a church, anything like that, they will point straight away. Who do you think you are saying that to us? They won't argue with what you said, because they can't argue with what you said, because what you said is true. They can't argue about that. I've even had that conversation with people and saying, don't worry about that. Focus on what I just said. Can you argue with that? Well, no, but then again, who are you to be bringing that to us? They know they can't argue, but they keep on saying, yeah, but you've not gone to Bible college, you've not been trained, you're not in a position here of authority to be able to do anything. So basically, shut up and know your place. Excuse me, yeah, I'm not going to shut up, and I do know my place. Certainly right now, I'm not going to shut up, and I absolutely do know my place. And at this moment in time, only because of God, only because of what God has done, my place is at the moment situated above most of those people that I've spoken to before who've said, and who do you think you are? So yes, I know my place now. Yeah. I mean, it is typically these people that go to the front of the church and sit at the front all the time, who believe they belong at the front. They're not bothered to read the scripture where it says, sit at the back until you're invited. When you're invited to come forward, then you come forward. Yeah, no. Too many people in church, they want to sit at the front because then they get the credits from the speaker, teacher, pastor, whatever they want to call themselves. Yeah. Because they can pretend that they're attentive. And when it's worship, they'll be the ones raising their hands. Look at me, aren't I wonderful? Yeah, it's not about that. It really isn't about that in any way, shape or form. So basically, I mean, don't ever ask a person, what have you done and achieved? It's always what has God done through you? And what's been achieved through you? That's a fair question. That is absolutely a fair question, yes. Of course. You can ask that question. It's a fair question to ask. If you're asking a fellow brother or sister, so if that person is pointing out things to you, then yeah. But actually, again, focus on what's being said. Because the only reason someone would say, like she said, can you explain what you have done and achieved? That's because offence was taken. It's the only reason, because offence was taken. They're saying, who do you think you are? They would only do that if offence was taken. Because basically, when you're pointing out what the church hasn't or is not doing, or is doing that it shouldn't be doing, part of the reason why they get offended is because you're either pointing out something that they didn't see, and as more mature members, they should have seen it, and so therefore it's highly offensive that nobody is pointing that out to them. Or you're pointing out something they have seen but have no idea as to how to fix. And so they take it out on you. So it is so easy to offend people. It really is. Don't worry about it. If it happens, certainly if you're speaking truth, you're going to offend people. Yeshua spoke the truth, he offended people. People got offended all the time. As I've said before, sometimes he intentionally offended people. Yeah. Well, because, I mean, the point of it is, when people get offended, it's then that you see what's really there. As I said earlier, when your character is tested, what does it show? Well, when offence comes, that shows your character, doesn't it? So when someone gets offended, that's when their character is shown as to what's really there. Now, they can pretend by going to church that they're good little Christians, but the real test is when they get offended. How do they respond to that? So, there. Yeah. It's a point, isn't it, really? Yeah. It is what it is, and yeah. And if you understand the picture, then you are going to know, certainly. If you're involved in what God is doing now, and it's something new, when you reveal that to people, people will get offended, because as soon as you reveal that, what God is doing now, You are doing exactly what I said earlier. You are saying to them, what you believe is no longer relevant. What you believe is dead now. That God is doing this new thing, and I know it, but you don't. That's the point. Quite often in churches, you have people who are that have either been exalted by the leadership or self-exalted. They're not being exalted by God. They've been exalted by either the leadership or self-exalted, and they get so offended. But then again, so does the normal Christian can get very offended by that stuff, because again, their reaction to you saying anything is, "Who do you think you are? You're not my pastor. You're not my teacher." Well, first of all, how do you know? How do you know that the person sent to you wasn't sent by God to teach you something? Because, more than likely, the person who is your pastor isn't supposed to be. Do I have, at the moment, do I have any examples at all in my 27 years, or 28 years now, of being in and out of churches, of there being a good pastor? No. I don't have any examples of anyone that I can truly say was appointed by God to be a pastor. Robin Williamson, lovely man. He is a pastor. To a certain degree, he works as a pastor, to a certain degree. Leonard Gill would have been a fantastic pastor. I don't think he ever worked as that, but he should have done, because he had that in his nature. But on the opposite point, the people that shouldn't. Grant Gill, I've mentioned him before. He was the arrogant South African who didn't have any people skills. Now, as a pastor, that certainly doesn't qualify you in any way, shape or form. Because the whole job of a pastor is basically like a Christian counsellor. That is their job. Now, if you have no people skills, you can't work as a counsellor. You need to be able to listen, you need to be able to communicate, you need to have empathy, and you need to have all of that sort of forbearing nature, and be considerate and compassionate, and all of that. And Manuel at the church I was at previously, here, he's not a pastor. He's given himself the position of pastor, but he's not a pastor, not in any way, shape or form. He hasn't got that nature. There are other people in the church that have, but for some reason he is still the pastor. No idea why. It isn't God, it's him, or it's the church that are to blame for that. A bit of both, I guess. There hasn't been one. I was in a church called St. Luke's in Kent, and that church again had a pastor who was very funny, delivered a good message, so a good teacher, but certainly not a pastor. Had no compassion, no empathy, had none of that at all. No ability to really be able to communicate with people. And then the one who married me and my ex, he actually admitted he was supposed to be an evangelist, but he got fed up doing that, so he chose to be a pastor instead. He chose to be a pastor instead. In all those years, I have no experience at all of anyone that I can see that you were supposed to be a pastor, that is what you're supposed to be doing. In most occasions, the churches I've been in, there's been a pastor who was the pastor, the teacher, the worship leader, the this, the that, the other, basically trying to carry the whole church by themselves. And there's no way, shape or form that God wanted any of that to happen. So, I'm not your pastor, but then again, your pastor isn't supposed to be your pastor, most likely. Well, I say, I don't think my experiences are rare. I really don't. I think that's probably the common situation, especially because of the fact that the Bible colleges basically, they seem to teach the people that come out of them that if you've gone through Bible college, you are the teacher, you are the pastor, you are the worship leader, you are whatever it is you want to be in that church. You are the ultimate authority in that church. The problem is, God is supposed to be the ultimate authority. Well, in my understanding now, it's Father, but in your understanding as a church, it's supposed to be Yeshua, who is the ultimate who has the ultimate authority. Yeah. The problem is the church talks a good game, but it can never walk it. And it certainly can't teach others to walk it. And that has been a major failure of the church. But that's why I say, in the end, you have to look at the whole of the church. The congregation and the leaders and the way of training the system and the way of choosing what the church is going to look like. All of it has been to blame. All of it has been a massive failure. Well, because if God hasn't been in the church for a long time, there is a reason for that, and the reason isn't God. Otherwise, what's God waiting for? If God isn't doing anything, and he's not doing anything for a reason, okay, what's he waiting for? Is he waiting for society to change? Well, why would he be waiting for society to change? He could have changed society just like that. To be as it needed to be for him to do marvellous things in the church and revive it and But I think part of it is that when you had like the Toronto Blessing, that was a little bit from God, possibly from God. I wasn't there, so I can't really tell you. I was a very, very young Christian at the time. I was probably about 4 years old as a Christian at the time. About that, I guess. But as I say, I remember how churches were teaching people how to learn to speak in tongues, and it was absolutely and totally demonic. Now, did that come from Toronto? No, I don't think so. I think that came from a lazy church who didn't want to actually do what it had to do to get to receive from God. It just wanted to tell Christians that if you hummed enough, you would learn to speak in tongues. Based on what exactly? I've no idea. I have absolutely no idea at all. It's not based on scripture, not in any way, shape or form. I mean, what of these things, having your people trained in a college. I mean, the fact you put the word Bible there means nothing at all. Having people trained in a college, which is a worldly system, is that biblical? No. Every church being exactly the same, is that biblical? No. Nothing that the church is doing is biblical. Nothing at all. You want to see why things aren't working? That's where you look. And do you really think that God is going to choose a leader of the church to point out the failures of the church? These leaders who either see it yet can't be bothered to do anything about it, or just can't see it, that God's going to choose one of these people to deal with it? That is so incredibly unlikely. Choose one of the people that have caused this massive problem to sort it out. Unlikely. The people that have sat in this mess and pretended that it's not a mess. Pretended that actually church is going really well. Yeah. Yeah. It is what it is, really. Yep, indeed. So, yeah. Well, as I say, that's, yeah, when you've got someone that's so easily offended, you've got to expect to offend. You really do. You've got to expect that, you know, as you share what God is doing now, people will get offended. Of course they're going to get offended. And you've got to learn how to deal with that. You know, I mean, if you have a problem with people being offended against you, then this is not the thing for you, clearly. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah. Expect to offend people and learn quickly to deal with it. Because, you know, when people get offended with you, that's going to be testing your character. So, you know, you need God to help you to learn to deal with offence and learn to deal with offence in a better way. Well, when people get offended with you, when people attack you, you've got to learn to deal with it. Because when people get offended, they will attack. That's the reality. That is the reality, isn't it? Yeah, it's like when an animal is cornered, what does it do? It will attack you. Because it feels scared and it will attack. And it's human nature to do exactly the same. If you feel you're being attacked, what do? You attack back. That's part of human nature. It shouldn't be the nature of people in church, no, but it is. At least enough of them. So, yeah. I'm saying that it shouldn't be the nature, but it is the nature. And so if you're going to be dealing with these people, you need to learn to deal with offence, especially if you want God to use you and to speak through you, and, you know, for you to be able to speak truth to these people. Yeah. Well, as I said before, if you are shining light in darkness, those in darkness are going to get offended by that light. Yeah, that was the suggested things during the Second World War, where prisoners were kept in dark holes, and then they eventually opened the door or whatever to let light in, and the prisoners backed away from the light because that light was painful to their eyes. If it's painful to you, it's offensive, isn't it? And that's the thing with light. When you're in darkness, light is offensive. And you need to understand that, and you need to understand that if you're going to be a bringer of light, you are going to offend people, not intentionally, but people are going to take offence to that. Because that's the point with offence, is people take it. It's never given. You can't force people to take offence. But people choose to take it, and they will take it. And then when they take it, they will attack you. You know, that's just something that people need to understand. That is a reality. And that's a situation which we are in right now. We are in the beginning to something new, and people in the old are going to attack the people bringing this news as this new thing. That is going to happen. And when that happens, as I say, you learn to deal with it. You'll learn to, for the attack to be like water off a duck's back. That's the aim in it, really. That's what you want to do. So there you go. I will leave you to it. You take care. God bless. I'll speak to you soon. Have a wonderful evening and a wonderful week. Take care. Bye-bye.